Ever since I've been old enough to reach the pedals, I've been a car guy. If it had wheels and a seat, I was on it. For the past 30 years, I have made it my mission to find, rescue, and restore hundreds of pieces from our automotive past and sell them to customers all over the world. Hi, my name is Wally Kaz, and welcome to our new show, Reclaiming America. What we're going to be doing is going back in time and finding old roadside relics, whether it's from an old gas station, an amusement park, an old diner, or wherever. All these nostalgic items, we're going to bring them back and we're going to restore them back to original condition and show everyone just how great it was and how nostalgic a lot of these pieces can be. We're not only going to show you the pieces, we're going to show you how to do the restorations. We're going to give you tips on different phases of it so you too can do your own restoration work. It's not about the money, but the challenge of bringing old, rusty, broken metal back to life, preserving the essence of true American ingenuity and pride of craftsmanship. We do it all right here on the Space Coast of sunny Florida, where the smell of rocket fuel and stale gasoline fuels my passion for these roadside relics. My wife Terry handles all the store sales, mail order, and packing and shipping. So I can be busy in the shop completing projects with my two main guys, Nelson, who handles prep, prime, and polish, and Joe on fabrication and assembly. So buckle up and check the oil, because we're going on a road trip back in time and bringing back all the cool stuff we find along the way. We are professionals, but please try this at home. We'll even show you how to do it. There's no song and dance here, but every piece of history will tell its story. A part of our history that will never, ever be repeated. My name is Wally Kaz, my business is Past Gas, and we are Reclaiming America. Every road trip has to start with a set of wheels, but we're not going anywhere without one thing: good old American gasoline. Who knew that this thick black crude seeping out of the ground in the early 1800s would fuel America's passion and love affair with the American automobile? Can I get $50 on pump number 2? Right. If you think that's going to fill my tank, think again. Just about every one of these cars whizzing down this busy highway is running on gasoline. It all started in 1859 when Edwin Drake drilled along the oil creek in western Pennsylvania. The resulting oil find sparked a frenzy of activity not seen since the California gold rush a decade earlier. So what was the big deal with oil? The automobile wasn't even invented yet. Well, the crude was refined for kerosene, which was the fuel of choice back then, replacing whale oil for heating and lighting. A highly volatile liquid, later to be called gasoline, was considered a byproduct and actually thrown away. It was not until 1892 that the gasoline engine motor car was perfected, and from that time on, gasoline took its rightful place in history. Okay, so now we have our wheels and gasoline to run on, but back in the day, how did they get it in their vehicles? Well, a bucket and a funnel worked just fine at first, but there were so many impurities in it, it had to be poured through a deerskin chamois. Filling up progressed to 55-gallon drums with a garden hose attached, followed by stroke pumps or gas carts placed at the curb. Hardware stores and blacksmith shops are where you went to fill her up. All dispensers up to this point were considered blind pumps because the consumer could not see what he was paying for, and this led to mistrust and suspicion by the motorists. The next generation of pumps solved that problem with the introduction of the visible gas pump. As a matter of fact, let's go check out one right now. All right, Nelson, this is why we're here. First thing I saw was this old visible gas pump. Now you can tell by the shape that it's a fry.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's in not as good a shape as in the picture, of course. Loading and unloading the pump is a two-man job. One of these fries tips the scales right at 450 pounds, made from almost a 1/4 inch thick All-American made steel. Fuzzy dice. We've all seen them before, but do they have a hidden meaning? And where did they come from? Stick around and I'll tell you all about it when I get back. Okay, so where did fuzzy dice come from? Story has it that World War II fighter pilots carried dice in their cockpit for good luck. And then after coming home after the war, a lot of them went into hot rods and they carried the dice logos, maybe on the side of their car and that. And then sometime along in the late 40s or 50s, you started seeing fuzzy dice hanging from the rearview mirror. Well, where did they come from? It was usually made by hand by a girlfriend. And the girlfriend would present it to the guy if he thought or she thought that, their relationship was far along that they could go steady. Now, you see all different colors of dice also. You see black with white dots, you see red, you see pink, you see blue. As a rule, the black dice were signifying that the guy was a lone wolf. And also, you remember the term no dice? Where do you think that came from? Well, on Sunday morning, the guys would be hanging around the garage working on their cars, and one of them would say, "Hey Joe, how did it go with Sally last night?" And he would say, "No dice." One of the cool things about my job is that you never know what or who is going to walk into the shop.
Cos, what's happening?
Yo, Don.
How you been?
I've been doing good. What are you up to?
I closed my old shop and I got a new building, and
Yeah.
I found an item upstairs in the old loft
Yeah.
that the guys were about ready to throw away, and I think it's something you might like.
You're kidding me?
Yeah.
What is it? You
It's-
got it with you?
I do, but it's a sign.
A sign.
It's a sign.
Is it old?
It's older than you and me put together, probably.
Well, let's go look at it.
All right, come on. Yeah, it's
Let's
really
see
a
what you
neat old
got.
piece. Yeah, I think you're gonna like it, man.
Nice car, Don.
Yeah. Well, I've been working hard on it, as you can tell.
Oh, you got me all excited now. Whoa.
All right.
Kendall Motor Oils. Yeah, that is a really interesting sign. I don't think I've ever seen one like this before.
So they thermoform these plastics,
Yeah, I
or
think
is that
it's like,
molded?
I think they were vacuum formed.
This frame is in good shape. How do you put new paint? Do you?
Well, this is actually painted on the back side, so the front can probably be cleaned up pretty good. And it's got another side to it, so it was designed the way it looks to be mounted on a pole or on the side of a building that you could see it from both sides. Let me go get a cart. Let's get it inside the shop and take a better look at it.
I've never plugged it in, so I don't know if it works.
Well, we can figure that out. So Don, where the heck did you get this thing?
Well, I closed the old shop. I'm getting a new building. And upstairs, we were cleaning up, getting organized. The guys found this upstairs in the loft. It was
Really?
stuck in a corner with a bunch of papers on it. They almost busted the face. And they go, "Hey." So I just figured I know the guy who might be interested in this because I know your history with antiques.
So you don't know what do you want for this thing?
Well, I'd like to get, $500, about a half a mortgage payment.
$500?
It's an antique.
I was thinking more like maybe $100.
$100? Oh, come on,
Wait a
Walt.
minute, wait. I'll tell you what, okay?
Wait a minute. We've done this before.
I'm going to get a cord. We're going to plug it in, okay? If it lights up, I'll give you $500.
Okay.
If it doesn't light up, I'll give you $100. What do you think?
Well, I don't know.
Look
I
at
can't
look at
use
the
it.
big hole in the side. We got to fix all that.
Well,
Look
it's
at the
air
hole.
conditioned. I'll tell you what. That's a deal. I'll do it.
Okay,
But if it lights, it's $5.
right.
If I'm unlucky, it's $100.
Correct.
Okay.
Let me get a cord and we'll hook it up.
Okay, you got it.
Okay, so we'll hook up this cord.
Yeah, it's gonna work. Lights.
You feeling lucky, Don?
It's gonna work. I know it is. It's a Kendall.
All right, ready. Hand me that
Here.
power cord.
Here you go, buddy. Got it?
All right. You ready?
Yep. Lights. Hey, is that
Nothing.
plugged into the wall?
Yeah, it is.
All right.
Nothing.
You sure? Wiggle it.
No,
Won't go the other way?
no. It ain't gonna work. I'm telling you. I tell you what, I think the bulbs are probably just burned out in it.
Yeah, there's probably bulbs from the 40s.
Well, yeah, probably.
They're probably
so.
12 volt.
Well, all right. But so it's a deal, $100. Remember?
$500
No,
if it
$100
works.
$100 if it didn't light.
Well,
It
but if
didn't
it's
light.
just a bulb.
Well, that doesn't matter. That wasn't the deal. Okay.
Okay,
So,
$100.
$100.
$100.
Okay.
All
All right.
free.
So let's open it up and see what we got in here.
All right. How do you do that?
Well,
It's riveted.
looks like somebody had taken a lot of the screws out originally for some reason.
There is screws here.
All right. Well, we can probably maybe just lift it up.
Pull this band loose.
Careful now. We don't want to break the front.
Hey, it's only $100.
Okay. Hold on a second.
Oh, this is bending.
Hold that up like that. Whoa, it's neon. It's not just regular incandescent bulbs, it's neon.
So it could work.
There's the transformer.
Well, that
Look at
helps.
this neon. Look at all
Wow,
the
that's pretty
twists and
neat.
turns it does.
That's
Well, here's the problem right here.
Oh,
It's
it's
not even
broke.
connected, and the electrode at one end is broken, which means all the gas has escaped, and there's no way this thing can work. So
Dang.
if I take it to my friends at the sign shop, they could probably put a new electrode on the end, recharge it, rebombard it, and we can salvage this piece of neon. Now, the other thing we don't know is if the transformer is working, okay?
Right.
So there is a way to check that out, but it's not for the squeamish. Let me grab a piece of wire.
I've already had my perm for the year.
Okay. Okay. This is one part you may not want to try at home, because this transformer, if it's working, is probably 6, 7, 8,000 volts. Okay. So if we hook one end of this wire
So I'm not going to touch
to
any metal.
here, what about that plate in your head? Is that going to?
No,
All right,
I
so we
plug
put-
in weekly.
So we put one end here, and we have to plug it in. Make sure you're using a good insulated piece of wire, and if you start putting this towards the transformer,
Oh.
whoa!
Hey, that was cool. Your eyes lit up.
See?
So that
That's
means
the test. That means the transformer is good.
that rusty thing is good?
Well, do you see the spark?
I see the spark.
That's the way to test it.
800 volts?
No, 8,000 volts.
8,000 volts.
Right. It's high voltage, low amperage.
Oh, okay.
But I'm telling you, I mean, 9,000 volts will teach you how to dance any day of the week. Okay, so go ahead and put that back down real carefully.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to clean up these plastic faces, see if we can get them to shine up a little bit. The ink that they used for the red is on the inside, and then it's also backed up with white. So we can clean the outside, we can buff it and make it nice and shiny.
So
There's no cracks or dings or anything in it.
and then all that detail in the hand will show.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, this is not a peace sign.
No, this is.
This is not a peace sign because
What? Victory.
This sign was made much earlier than the 60s, which is when the peace sign started. What it is Kendall back in the 30s and 20s, their advertising, I guess you can say, what they did was they advertised that Kendall was the 2,000-mile oil. Okay,
Ah,
that's why, and he's saying 2,000-mile oil.
So oil before that wasn't.
Well, back then the oil, the engines were much cruder, and they would create more residue in the oil. But Kendall came up with an additive they put in the oil that they could make it last longer in the engine. So they advertised 2,000-mile oil instead of the usual 1,000 miles, which most oils had to be changed after 1,000 miles. We got the pump back to the shop, and immediately Nelson started disassembly. I highly recommend taking pictures or making sketches for reassembly. A project like this can take weeks or even months, so make sure you're thoroughly familiar with it. Next, it goes to the sandblaster, followed immediately by a primer sealer. If there's a lot of heavy surface pitting, use a good quality high build epoxy primer. Then it's just a matter of finishing each piece individually, whether it requires painting, polishing, or plating. Okay, so you've spent weeks or maybe even months on your last project, and you're ready to put the finishing touches on. Whether it's a car, a gas pump, a soda machine, whatever it is, I'm talking about decals. You know, those large sticky back logos. You peel off the backing and stick it right on the paint. And what happens? It's got wrinkles, bubbles, you're sticking it with a pin, poking it with a knife, and after all that, it's crooked. And all you've created is a big honking mess. I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to apply these decals, and it will be perfect every time. All you need is a spray bottle with some soapy water in it, some paper towel, and a squeegee. First, carefully peel the back off the decal. Then you take your spray bottle and completely cover the sticky side of the decal. Also squirt the area where the decal is to be applied. Then simply position it, move it around, get it in the place you want it, gently hold it with one hand, take your squeegee, and start from the middle and work your way to the outside. What you want to do is squeegee all the bubbles and the water out from the back. Now you've got it nice and smooth, and all the excess water can be sopped up with the paper towel. Now, just leave it alone at this point. When the rest of the water evaporates overnight, the decal will take hold just as if you put it on dry. By the way, if you don't have a rubber squeegee, all you need is your credit card. Wrap it in a piece of paper towel, so when you do your squeegeeing, it's just as good, but the paper towel keeps the edge softer because sometimes the edge can be rough on a credit card. I took the neon tube to the guys at Kendall Signs to hopefully get it repaired. They have a complete neon plant in-house and can handle anything I throw at them. Hey, Kendall,
Hey,
remember me?
yes sir.
Take a look at this project that we're working on. I got this old neon sign that had this weird shaped neon tubes in it. But the coolest part about it is, look it. Kendall?
That is old.
So what I need to do is find out if we can fix it.
We can make you a new one. These have mercury in them, and you can repump them. However, you shouldn't. It's a health issue. But you could tell it's old. They side tubulated, and now we have tubulation in the electrodes, which is the end piece.
Okay, so originally they evacuated the tube and charged it through this little hole here,
correct.
and then they would just close it off.
Actually, the flame goes around it, and because there's a vacuum on it,
Okay.
seals it closed.
And the newer electrodes, you evacuate it and charge it from
Right, they
from
come
the
with
end of the electrode.
They come with that on them already,
Okay.
and we
All
just
right.
add to it.
Okay.
But we can absolutely make you a new one.
Okay, so we can't fix it, but we'd be better off making a new one anyways. That way we know it's going to be nice and bright and white, and it's got to be able to backlight, through, this old, plastic sign face.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we can take it upstairs and get started on a new one?
Let's do it.
All right. First, the old tube is traced onto a piece of flame-proof paper. Then, the tube is heated with a ribbon burner and bent in just the right places. Air is blown into the tube gently to keep it from collapsing. Electrodes are fused to each end, then a drop of mercury is injected. Next, the air is burned out with high voltage. Finally, the tube is filled with the proper gas and closed off. That looks great. It looks exactly like the old one. And it's not broken,
And it works.
and it works. That is so cool. And we use the exact same process as they did way back when. The same process that made this old one, you made it today the same way.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Nothing's changed.
Kendall, great job. And thanks for helping me reclaim a part of our American past with
Yes,
another
sir.
cool piece.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in.
Okay. While I was at the sign shop having the neon tube repaired, Joe was back at the shop dismantling the sign and getting it ready for restoration. At the same time, Nelson took the two plastic faces and started cleaning them up, and we found out that they cleaned up very well. There was not a nick or a scratch or a break in any of them. So they worked out really well. Internally, the frame was rotted away. Probably a third of it was rotted away, so we had to replace that. And also the outside can, as we saw before, had huge holes rotted in it. So we had to cut the piece out and weld in new metal. Now, with all the pieces all painted and polished and ready to go, we're ready to assemble it. First, we have to install the repaired frame in the case. Then the neon tube can be installed on the original standoffs that were not even removed originally. We use copper wire to attach the glass tube to the standoffs. They're just twisted and the ends clipped off. Next, the transformer can be installed into the frame. We need a new power wire installed through the case and then hooked up to the transformer. Then the two secondary leads from the transformer, those are the high voltage ones, are attached to each end of the neon tube. So now we can plug it in to see if all our hard work paid off. Okay, so here's the final product. The Fry Model 117 visible gas pump, 10-gallon measure. It was made by the Guaranteed Liquid Measure Company of Rochester, Pennsylvania. The gentleman's name that invented it, his name is Fry, that's why we call it a Fry. Now, the way this worked was the station boy or girl would open the front door, he would raise the center fill tube to the gallon stop that indicated how many gallons that he or she had ordered. Okay. And then he would pump the cylinder full of gasoline, but it would only go up to the overflow tube that was set at the 5-gallon mark. If you kept pumping, the gas would just go back into the underground storage tank. Then it was just a matter of taking the hose, putting it in the gas tank, and releasing the dump valve so gravity could do the rest of the job and bring the gasoline into his car. Now, these models were typically over 10 feet tall, and the reason for that was that a lot of the gas tanks back then, especially in the larger trucks, were very high off the ground. So if we're using gravity to fill the tank itself had to be above the level of the gas tank. This is my favorite visible gas pump, and the reason why I'm partial to it is because this is the very first pump that I purchased way back years and years ago. And up to this day, we have restored 45 of these gas pumps, these particular type. Every one that we restore, we stamp and I initial it so the customer knows that it's an official past gas pump, and we did the restoration on it. This pump is nicknamed the Mae West. Now, where did that name come from? Well, some of you may remember an old vaudeville actress and performer. Her name was Mae West, and she was kind of like the Marilyn Monroe of the 30s and 40s. And it's obvious from the shape of the pump that it kind of resembles her in a way. When we restore a pump like this, we will usually have 80 to 100 hours of shop time involved in it. And since this pump has its original glass cylinder and has an original gold crown globe on the top, this pump would sell for in the vicinity of $8,500. Okay, so here we are with the finished sign. As you can see, we've mounted it to a pole, and that's originally how it was designed to be mounted. We used the original pole mount brackets, just cleaned them up. We've probably got about 20 hours of labor in shop. I was hoping we could fix the neon tube inside, but we weren't able to do that, so we had to replace the neon tube. You never know what you're going to get into till you start taking something apart. So it's hard to give a customer an exact price right in the beginning. We can get close, but a lot of times, you know, you may run under, but a lot of times you may, you know, run over. It's only experience and doing it over and over and over again that you learn, you know, how much time you may have in a piece. I guess we're going to plug it in and make sure it still works. I might even give Don a call to see if he wants to buy this back. You think he can afford the $3,500? Well, that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed the ride. Come back and see where our next road trip will take us.